Hey everyone, Adam here. Welcome back. In the last video, we took a look at getting started with SimHub, getting it downloaded, installed, maybe going out and searching some forums, finding another dashboard that is more preferential to you, and then getting that up and running, whether that's being displayed on a monitor, an external dashboard like I use, or you've got a wheel with a SimHub compatible display built in. However you're using that, you should by now be able to do that. So here we're going to look at, you've been using that screen for a while, that display. Maybe you've played with a couple of different dashboards, and you want to kind of get more out of what's available, or you want to change a few things. So we're going to go ahead and get into that today. We're not going to get too deep into it. That'll be in a later video. We're going to start with the basics, some of the most common things that people want to change. Okay, so here we are. We're in SimHub. We're in the main menu, and we are in the settings tab, window, menu, whatever you want to call it. What we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to preferred units. It's about 2/3 of the way down. This is something that a lot of people ask on the forums, and it's there, but it's not right. It's not obvious. You have to kind of go digging to find it. So under settings for SimHub, preferred units, this is where you can set MPH or KPH. I know it says KMH. I'm calling it kilometers per hour. Your air temperature unit or track temp unit in Celsius, Fahrenheit, Kelvin, if you want. Pressure can be displayed in PSI, kPa, bar, fuel in liters or gallons. So if you've been using a dash that displays the fuel in liters and you would rather have it be in gallons, that's all you have to do is change that right there. One of the other preferred units here that they give you, it's not a preferred unit. I don't quite understand why they put it under here, but this is where it's at, is this adjust minimum tire wear from reported game data. Basically, it lets you put an offset in the amount of tire wear. If you're using iRacing, tire wear is only reported on a pit stop. I know in some other sims, tire wear can be real time. This just gives you an opportunity if you're doing the Daytona 24 and you want to schedule your pit stops before your tires are absolutely shot. Put a 5 or 10% offset in here, and if you do get real-time tire wear data, you'll know earlier than you need to know when it's actually time to make a pit stop. Some other things that can be in here are game volume control, system volume control, if you want to use SimHub or your dash for that. This, though, is my absolute favorite, the look and feel section. I spend a lot of time as a data scientist writing a lot of code every day. I hate this daytime theme. It hurts my eyes. So we're going to click base light, and we're going to go base dark. And now all of a sudden my eyes are thanking me, and hopefully yours are too if you're using dark mode or you're a fan of dark mode. You can do some UI scaling, and then you can add some accent colors. I just leave it blue by default because it looks good. But I mean, if you want to change it to purple, you can see the borders and everything else changes to purple. Let's go back to blue. So within here, that's about all I would change. The other thing we want to do is we want to go up to controls and events. Now this main controls tab is where you're going to want to go to first. Let's say you are using this dashboard right here, this Bosch DDU8. You notice that this dashboard here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different screens available to you within this dash. And some dashboards will even have what I call nested screens, meaning that there are certain sections of a screen within a dash that you can change without changing the whole screen. We'll get to that in another video, though we're not going to worry about that today. So this Bosch dash has 6 screens available to us, but you've only been looking at the one at the main screen, and you want to know how to get over to click to some of these others. Well, controls and events tab, right here, previous screen, next screen. All you would have to do is click on this and click new mapping, and you can map it to whatever you want. So if you've got a button box somewhere in your sim rig or an Elgato Stream Deck or even just a keyboard that's close by, you can assign any key mapping or combination of key mappings to make this happen. So now that we've done that, when we go back and look at this dashboard on whatever display we're using, in my case, I've got a touchscreen USB-D 480 display. All I have to do is touch the screen and it'll change. But if you've assigned buttons from your button box, keyboard, Stream Deck, whatever it is you want to use, you can now cycle through the available pages. So hopefully that helps some of you there that haven't quite learned that feature yet within SimHub. So while we're on the topic of this Bosch display, this is one of the default ones here. Let's go ahead and let's hit the More button. And within here, you can assign a dashboard to specific categories. These categories you'll see here, Bosch, Audi, generic, that just kind of lets you group. If you've created multiple dashboards or you create some specific ones for endurance racing versus a 15-minute fixed Ferrari sprint race, because for a 15-minute race, you don't need to know certain things like fuel data and temperature, I guess. I don't know. It's all preferential. It's very subjective on what it is you find relevant during a race to look at. So you can kind of create some groups. You can set a new category for sprint races, endurance races. It's entirely up to you. This is very open source, very customizable. Now, some of the more custom functions do only become available if you click the donate button. I highly recommend doing that. I can't say enough. Donate $5 or $10 US. The developer appreciates it, and hopefully that gives them more money and more time to increase the functionality of SimHub to make our lives easier. This is already such a powerful tool for sim racers, and hopefully it can be even more so one day. So let's go ahead and, I don't know, let's take this Bosch dash and let's say we want to use it, not windowed, but we want to use it as an overlay for a stream. We can click Convert to Overlay. We can copy the OBS browser address to the clipboard, and now you won't see it on your monitor, but if you are streaming and you're using OBS to show that to your viewers, you can show that dashboard as an overlay in OBS. Very cool. But right now, what we want to do is we want to make some changes to an existing dashboard. Let's find a dashboard that we want to change. Oh, my favorite one right here. GSI. So this is Gomez Sim Industries dashboard. This is the one that Gomez is going to be hopefully sending out with every GSI Formula Pro Elite wheel. I'm going to put a link to his website in the description below. From there, you can join the GSI Discord. This dash is available in the GSI Discord download. There's an additional file that you'll need to install with it, but all the instructions are all right there, but that'll be linked down in the description below. So let's go ahead. We're not going to start this dash. We're going to come over here again to the More button, and now we're going to click Edit Dashboard. And that's going to open this up in the Dash Studio editor. This is where all of the fun happens. This is where all of the dashboards are created, is right here within the editor. So let's take a quick look, just a brief walk around the editor, and let's talk about some of the things you can do in here. We're not going to get into that too much in this video. We'll do that for the next one. But let's just look and see kind of what's available to us. So right now, we're looking at one of the screens of this dashboard. This dashboard I know has 3 screens. How do I know that? Well, we can come over here. We're going to start on the right-hand menu. So the right-hand menu, we've got 3 tabs. We've got Screen, Dashboard, and Images. So now on the Screen tab, we're going to see right here. This is the GSI idle screen. This is what we have named this screen. If we click these arrows, we can scroll between the different screens that are available on this dashboard. Let's go stick with the GSI idle for now. In the top part of the right-hand menu, and all of these boxes are movable, by the way. You can adjust them, slide them, make them bigger, smaller, whatever it is, however your eyes want to see this, you can play with that. So at the top here, we're going to see the components. These are the items within this specific screen on this dashboard. Right here, we have two items. One is a text item, and when I click on it, you see that this red box popped up highlighting the item that I've clicked up here. And then we have the image item. So the image item being the GSI logo, the text item being the URL, the web address. This isn't a clickable hyperlink, but it's there for display when you're not in a session. So let's take a closer look then at this text item 0. We want to know what are the properties of that. So that is right here. All of this fine stuff that I'm scrolling way too fast for you to read. So let's take a closer look. So right now, it has a name. Right now, it's text item 0. I don't like text item 0. It doesn't tell me what it is. So we're going to change that. Whoops. Gomez URL. There we go. So now we've named it. It's up here. So now when I'm looking at this menu to see what properties or what components are in this dashboard, I know that this is the Gomez URL, and we're going to change this one to GSI logo. Pretty simple. Now, when we're looking at this, let's go back to the text because we get more information when we look at this. We can see under the general section, the location of the text box in relationship to the number of pixels that are available on our screen, the width and the height in pixels of the box, the background color of this text box, which we can just click the drop down and change it. I do not recommend chartreuse. That's a very awful color. We're going to leave it transparent for now so we can see the text that's there. You can expand the border style. If you put a border around this text box, or if there was one, we could change the style of the border. We could add radiused corners. We can adjust the thickness of the border. We can do all kinds of fun stuff. Visible, right now, it is checked. If we uncheck visible, boom, it's gone. You can also do that up here where it says Gomez URL. We can just click the eyeball, toggle visibility on or off. If we've turned the visibility off, it will still be a part of the dashboard, but it will no longer be visible when you run this on your display. Within our text box, then, we can also add some effects. We can add a blink delay if we want. We can add a blur radius. This is something that I don't think any of us are really going to ever use. I haven't found a valid reason to use it yet, so we're not going to get into the effects anytime soon. So we're just going to kind of minimize that. For the text, we can align the text with our text box. This is basic Microsoft Office stuff. Hopefully you know what all of this is. You know how to change your font in this drop down, set your font size, your weighting, style, again, basic. But right here is where we actually set the text that's in the text box, and we can change that to whatever it is we want to have it say. We can change the color. We can change wrapping versus not. If the text is too big to fit on one line, we can make our text box larger vertically and then have the text wrap around. We can add a shadow blur. We can add colors for that shadow's depths. We can add special effects to the text for special characters and all that other fun stuff, but we're not going to do any of that today. So that covers the basics of a very simple idle screen and kind of how to look at this right-hand menu here. If we were to go to the Race 1, as it's named, screen, you're going to see a lot more components within this one screen in the dashboard. Now, what's been done here is this has been, for the most part, very well thought out. So things have been grouped into what SimHub calls layers. If you click this button right here that looks like a folder icon, you can create a new layer, and then you can group things by layer. You can create groups within a layer. There's really no limits to that. But the one thing to keep in mind with SimHub is the way it applies layers. So right now, we've got these black flag warnings, rev limit warnings. You notice they're not visible right now, but they are lower on this list, which means they're a higher layer. So we're just going to uncheck this toggle visibility. And right now, we can see that it's visible. But if we were to, let's say, move something below it, or, well, in this case, above it, it now becomes more visible. I want to undo that. We're going to Control Z. We're going to turn that off. We'll get into how to actually toggle visibility. This is a function of SimHub in the next video. This rev limit screen or the white flag, yellow flag warnings that you can see that are built in here. These are set to only display when necessary, but that's for the next video. So let's come over here within the Dash Studio. You've got your basic file and save, edit for cut, copy, and paste. Widgets are a very cool feature that allow you to do things like nest screens within screens. And it sounds a little more complicated than it actually is, but we will go into that in another video. Basically, what that allows us to do is we could have one whole section of this dashboard right here, this screen. Let's take the right side, for instance. We could have the right side scroll through different data fields at the push of a button, with having the left side and the rest of the dash stay exactly the same. That is often helpful. I have a number of dashboards that I use personally that I've built for myself that do just that, but that's for another day. And then you've got the run dashboard, windowed secondary monitor. You can run it right from here, but there's no need to. So over here, you've got some odd looking icons. And I'll say they're odd because they don't necessarily kind of look like what you think they might. But let's say we're going to check this text box here and we want to do horizontal center. It's going to take the highlighted items and it's going to move it to the horizontal center of the dashboard. We're going to undo that though. And we can do that, align things to the top. We can move them to the vertical center. We can stretch them automatically, and then we can take a selection and lock it. If we've locked a selection, it just means that it can't be moved or adjusted until we've unlocked. We can create snap grids. Snap grids are absolutely wonderful. If you want to make sure things are aligned, you can adjust the size of the snap grid. You can show labels. So each of these things, these components, all have a name. As you can see right here, we have brake bias. Brake bias shows up here. I don't like the labels when I'm working in this because it clutters things too much. We're going to turn that off. You can have it show the boxes, so you can see all of the boxes that contain each of these individual components. But again, that clutters things when I'm working. I don't like to have it up. I will have the grid up, though, if I'm working on a number of things. Like, for instance, I'm creating a leaderboard page for a dash, and I want to make sure that all of the text is lined up exactly. I will definitely use the grid to ensure that the text is lined up. Over here on the left-hand menu, you've got the first button is a quick text, and it tells you, you see the little tool tip there, a set of ready-to-use components. So if we click this, and let's say we want some engine components, we can add an RPM gauge, oil pressure, temperature. All of these things are here in SimHub, ready to go just at the click of a button. I will say, if you're looking at the system information, CPU load, memory load, those don't always work. I've tried a number of times. I've worked with a couple of people on a few different things to try to get it to work. It's hit or miss as to whether or not. So if you use some of the system information to try to like have a dashboard that displays your frames per second, your CPU load, temperatures, GPU load, GPU temperatures, fan speeds, all of that stuff is available within SimHub, but it doesn't necessarily work. It seems to be very system specific, and I haven't figured out exactly what causes it to work on one system and not another. If I do, I will create an entire video just on that because I've got a ton of time invested into figuring out a ton of notes, but no answers yet, sadly. So then we can come over here, and we've got general text boxes. We can click this. We can put an image on our dashboard with this. We can toggle an image to have it on, off, only display at certain times. We can create basic rectangles, linear gauges, dial gauges, live maps, which is very cool. We can create buttons for our dashboard. And if you click the more components, all kinds of other stuff, shift lights and rectangles. And some of it is repetitive. It just depends on where you want to go to see it. I want to delete that text box that popped up. That was bothering me. Okay, so we're in the editor, and right now we're in basic, simple changes. So right now, let's say we don't want this white warning. It's a white flag. This can be a little bright. You all of a sudden you cross the start finish line, last lap, and boom, your dashboard displays this white overlay over the screen. You don't want it there. Well, you got two options. You can just right click. If my right click will work, apparently not. Okay, that's not going to work today. Apologies. So we can just click on it, highlight it, and hit delete on our keyboard. Boom, gone. That's not there anymore. We don't have to worry about it. I want to bring that back. If at any point too you make too many changes to a dashboard and you don't like it, you can just close out. You don't have to save. If you look up here in the upper left-hand corner where it says GSE_FBE Atom, you'll see the little asterisk. That means that some changes have been made to your dashboard that have not been saved yet. So if you were to click the X, it's going to tell you that. What you can also see it up there. No, I don't want to save it. But let's say we really like that GSI dash and we don't want to change anything about it specifically, but we want to play around with it a little bit. Maybe move some things around, maybe change a couple of things, but we still want to keep that one there and we don't want to screw it up. So we're going to come down here to this More button again, and we are going to duplicate the dashboard. We're going to call this, whoops, our YouTube dash. Whatever. Oh, apparently I've already made one like this. We're going to hit OK. Oh, well, let me rename it either YouTube-2. There we go. So now if we come down here, we've got we're going to delete this original one. I don't know what I did with that. We've got our YouTube-2. We're going to click More, and then we're going to edit the dashboard. We're going to keep all the originals the same, but I don't want my brake bias to be red here. I want brake bias to be orchid. And I don't like the font for this right here, which is a best lap of the car in front of you. That's what this one is. But I don't like the color. So we're going to change it from dark turquoise to green or purple. Or we want to change the font size. Let's change it to, no, I change it to 690. You can't see that, obviously. Let's change it to 6. It's too small to read, but yeah, I mean, you get the idea. You can play with this and change. And a lot of this is basic Microsoft Office, learned it a long time ago type stuff, but it's all here. We're all able, you can change it all. And you can just click through any of these pages. I don't know what this one is. And just go ahead and play with it. Modify it to your best content, and then just click Save. Hey, yeah, I made some changes. I want to test it out. I don't want to keep this dash. We're going to go ahead and delete it. Now, something interesting that exists in SimHub that is a very cool feature. Not a lot of people know about it from what I've read in the forums, but I've begun to use it myself. When I'm creating a new dashboard, up here in the upper right, you're going to see 3 buttons: Live, Replay, Record. This will do 3 things. It's 3 buttons. Why wouldn't it do 3 things? Live setting takes a look in SimHub, and it only shows you the live data at that point in time coming from whatever simulator you've got open. Record, if you're in a session, an official practice session with a bunch of other cars out there, let's say you're testing some things out. If you hit the record button in SimHub, what it's going to do is it's going to record all of the telemetry data that iRacing or ACC was streaming out that SimHub collected, and it's going to create a file for you to use later on. That's where the replay button comes in. You can use the replay button on that file. I don't have any saved at this point in time, to go ahead and replay that telemetry data on a dashboard that you want to test out. So if you're building something new, maybe you're working on some new functions, like you want to have, well, I'll show you this one here. We're going to edit this dashboard so we can see it full screen. So right now, if you look at this where it says best lap, if I have set a new personal best lap, that will turn green and it will flash for just a brief second, best lap. If I have the fastest lap overall in a certain session, it will turn purple and tell me that I am fastest overall without me having to look up at a leaderboard. I can glance on at my dash real quick, see, hey, that's green, I just turned a new personal best, or hey, it's purple, I'm fastest overall. I've got nothing to worry about for now, but we'll get into that in the next video. So hopefully I've given you enough with this video here to get you started into working with the SimHub editor to go in, play around with some things, make a copy of a dashboard. I would highly recommend that first. Go ahead and start changing some things around. The one thing I will caution you on, we'll open up this GSE or iDashboard again. If you see, oops, I clicked the wrong tab. This, we're going to go down to the fuel. Let's find tank. Okay. When you see this right here, text, and this gray box is green, what this is SimHub is applying a function to a text. Right now, this text says 32.5. You can see it on the dash. I can change that to whatever I want. I can change it to Bob. That's only for the purposes of what is displayed here in the editor and on our dash if this screen is not an idle or is an idle screen when we're not in a session. The function is what's actually going to be displayed. If we look here, we can see that there's a computed value that is being applied to that text, and it is going to override what text we actually entered in. And in this case, it's going to override whatever we entered into that field with the fuel. This is the live fuel that is currently in the tank of whatever car you're sitting in. Because we have SimHub set to liters, it's going to obviously read out in liters. If you're looking at this here, you'll also see a couple of boxes down below. Result format, this is how we want the data to look. Obviously, fuel, it's going to be a number. I want the specific number, but only to 1 decimal point, so I put 0.0. Raw result is the item or the data value that is coming from the simulator. If I had iRacing open right now and I was in a session in the cockpit of a car that had fuel in the tank, I would see that number right here in the raw result. If I had it in formatted result, or formatted result then takes the formatting that I've put up here in result format, applies it to the raw result, and then you get this. Now, let's bring that back up a quick second. So this right here, game data, new data dot fuel. So this is the data point that it's collecting. We'll get into this more detail later, but if you want to maybe play around with that, let's say you don't want this to display fuel, or you don't want this up here to display brake bias. You want it to display something else. What we can do, I'm not going to save this, is we're going to go over to the available properties menu, and we're going to type in brake in the search function. And this is going to give us all of the data points that SimHub is collecting for your brake values. If it's not supported, it just means it's not supported for whatever game you have selected here. In this case, iRacing. So the temperature of the brakes for the left front is not available from iRacing in SimHub. Let's say I want to look at fuel or temperatures. It's all right there. All we have to do is copy the name and replace that value over in the editor. But we're going to get into that in the next video. So yeah, that's going to be it for today. So hopefully you've got enough now to start playing around with it, learning some more things. Let me know what you want to see going forward. I haven't finished the building a dashboard from scratch video yet, so hopefully I can get some input from you guys on what you want to see next, and we will go from there. So if you can, just click that little like button. If you didn't like it, let me know what you didn't like, and I will go ahead and make some changes in the future. Unless, of course, it's one of those comments, then I'm just going to ignore you. But the purpose of this series is to, help people learn what a great tool SimHub can be for sim racers and to be able to get the most out of it. So, hopefully going forward, we'll do some more stuff. We'll be able to build those custom dashboards, and you'll have the knowledge you need to know to get the data you want to see.